Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Vivian Reed. Now, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like and say nice things. Today, we on the classical side. Everything is not about musical theater and all of that. We're going to talk classical. But you know what? Behavior is behavior is behavior, no matter what form of music you do. So today, we have a gentleman who has several degrees from very prestigious music schools. And he is a chamber musician playing with the core ensemble all over the United States. He has concertized extensively, both here and internationally. And shall we talk about some of the greats that he's accompanied? Child, now you know he must be all that and some chocolate cake because he has accompanied or been the accompanist for Robert Sims, Angela Brown, and the list goes on and on. He is the kind of person that if you need an accompanist, he's the one you want to hire because I've watched him on stage and he is something to watch, not to take away from the person he's playing for, but you can tell that he feels the music. He's in the music. He knows the music. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Byron Burford Phearse. How you doing, Byron?
Hi, Vivian. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yes, honey. Everybody do a snap, snap. Anyway, listen, sweetheart. This is for young people and just to give them guidance. So let's just say we have some budding classical musicians coming into this business, and they're good. They know they're good. They've taken their lessons. They're still taking them. And they're ready to just kind of get out there in the world. And we know that they have to do the work. What can you tell them as maybe a place to start?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a great place to start is, in my opinion, not quite so obvious. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to start online because that's the most obvious thing.
Okay.
Right. Everyone wants that profile or that social media following or that really attractive that resume that they can put out there and all the videos and the Instagram and all.
Okay, but wait a minute. When you say start online, what do you mean? Like before they say go out and maybe see what's happening in the audition world, they actually start posting online things that they've done. That's what you're talking about?
That's what I'm saying. That's the most obvious place. That's right. Okay. Younger people today tend to gravitate there quickly and first and foremost because it just makes sense to build a following there. And then that's where success will come. I don't know. I still think that the best place to start is rolling up your sleeves and getting in to those clubs or getting into those smaller venues or organizing concerts in your home or in someone else's home or doing that kind of what we would make an equivalent to in politics, the grassroots kind of start, how you set yourself up on the street level, in person, face to face, and making those kinds of connections, because those kinds of connections are real. Those kinds of connections will take you a lot farther, in my opinion, and they're better, I think, for a career, a long-lasting career. In a sense,
it's still giving that musician experience and getting them to see what it's like to play in front of a group of people, because eventually that's what they're going to have to do.
That's what they're going to have to do at the end of the day, right? And the social media, it's very important, of course, to have that nowadays, especially for the younger people. But that's not all there is, of course. You and I both know that it is the getting out there and meeting people face to face, and how are your people skills? How are you at organizing things? How are you at just picking up the phone and talk? Like, we don't really do that anymore, do we? We don't talk on the phone enough with people anymore. We don't make those really basic, simple connections, and all of that, I think, is very important as a starting place,
Okay, how do they find out, for instance, to audition for something, maybe an orchestra, or if a particular vocalist or singer, classical singer, is looking for an accompanist? How do they find out about that?
Other than the teacher from your teacher, other than talking
Yeah,
to
other
your
than
teacher?
from your teacher.
Um,
For us in the musical theater world, there are places that we can go to look for auditions. Does the same exist in the classical world?
Not, I don't know of any
Mm-hmm.
offhand. But then again, it is, you'd be amazed at how much word of mouth
Word,
can.
that's why I was going to
Yeah,
say word of mouth.
yeah, yeah.
Hence, getting out there and doing as much as you can in front of people, then they see how fabulous you are. And and then they start spreading the word. And next thing, people are calling you for a job. But here again, let's talk about preparedness. You know, you can put yourself out there, but are you prepared? For instance, not everyone can be an accompanist. There is an art, a talent to being an accompanist, don't you think?
Oh, I know for sure. Wait, one of my favorite films is the Florence Foster Jenkins movie
Oh,
with Meryl Streep. I don't know if you've seen this.
I haven't seen that movie, but I'm very much familiar with Florence Foster Jenkins. Oh yeah.
Well, the scene where she auditions her future accompanist and the pianists are coming there playing Liszt and Rachmaninoff, and it's wonderful playing, but she settles on this small man, this quiet small man who plays lyrically like beautifully well and sensitive, and his name was Cosme McMoon. And it was when I saw that scene, I said, wow, that is really a thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's really, you can't expect every pianist to know this, or you can't expect every pianist, because we're taught we have to play loud and fast. That's what gets attention.
Yes.
That's what gets you on the stage, right? That's what gets you the standing ovation at the end. But there is so much more to piano playing than just loud and fast.
I'm going
Like
to
when
stop you
you're,
right there because, you know, I tell my students this, and I had to learn that because my voice is huge, that some of the best moments on stage are those moments when you are sottovoce, when you are
yeah,
soft. Not
absolutely.
everything is big. And plus, as an audience, you want to take your audience through dynamics.
You do.
You want to give them
Right.
highs,
Right.
give them lows. I mean, that's the joy, I think, in anything that you do as a dancer,
Right.
as a musician, as a singer, as an actor, that you want to have dimensions, dynamics to your work.
Right. And I go back and I listen to the old piano, like the greats from the day, like the Horowitzes and the
Hmm.
Rubinsteins. And I I hear so much individuality in their playing. And then I'm reminded of when my teachers taught me, you can't play the piano like a pianist. You have to play like a singer. That's what
Mm.
makes piano playing sound special, is when you play a line or a riff or a however you want to call it,
Mm.
and you play it like a singer would sing it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know, they tell singers sometimes the same thing, except they say, try to think of yourself as a musician. Isn't that
Yes.
interesting?
Yes. Sing like an instrumentalist would do. And that's why some singers, you hear it
Wow.
and how they execute melismas, they execute them with such precision because
Yes.
they did it like a flute player would do it.
All
And
right, so
so
guys, listening up, just don't think that you have to be big, loud, full volume, triple forte. It's not about that all the time. It's about you. You know what? Since we're talking about this, I think when when I discuss with my students about knowing your lyrics, until you understand what the lyric means, what is the story there, that you can't then begin to even sing it for an audience, because if you don't know what you're singing about, how are you going to get this across to your audience? It's just words coming out of your mouth, notes coming out of your mouth. And I would venture to say, even as a musician, that piece of music, whether you're concertizing or you're playing for someone else, has got to mean something to you. It has to go within, don't you think?
absolutely. That's where imagination comes from. Because
Yes.
honestly, I'm really tired of listening to perfect performances.
Mm.
I'm really, and there's so much out there online, and you're going through YouTube, and everyone's playing
Mm-hmm.
their Chopin etudes, and you're listening to all this stuff, and it's everything is perfect, but it's I'm sorry, it's just boring. But then,
Okay, but when you say perfect, you mean technically it's
technically,
just right, nothing
it,
wrong.
it's all exactly.
I totally agree with you. It's like listening
Yeah,
to a great singer who has a great voice, every word, every note perfectly executed, but
right.
nothing behind it.
Nothing behind it. But if I hear one glimpse of imagination behind a
Mm,
phrase, or a phrase turned a certain way, or a certain color that's just different, or even someone that just decided to take a different tempo altogether,
yes.
one that isn't usually heard, but they did it in a way that convinced you.
Hmm.
Those kinds of performances to me are much more rewarding and valuable to me.
Okay, but Byron, how does one arrive at this? Because obviously you had wonderful teachers. I had wonderful teachers. There was one or two at Juilliard or three that I didn't particularly care for. But I think if you have really, really great teachers and you're comfortable with your teacher and they're talking to you about these nuances and how you have to feel what you're doing. But what happens if you don't get that kind of teacher? Because I've had students who started studying with me who just did not have a clue and they had been taking voice. Teachers just giving them all bad information. So let's just say
Mhm.
a pianist, a musician, period, has just not had a great teacher. And we're now saying to those of you who are watching, if this is you, that you have to search deep. How does one go there? What do they do?
Wow.
Is, is it like shedding everything that you have and then looking at that piece of music and maybe dissecting that piece of music, not in a crazy way, but just to see what you as an individual musician can bring to it?
So
Could that?
are you speaking, what do you do from a teacher standpoint, or what
No,
does,
as a no, because
okay,
they've had the bad teacher now. They're
okay,
kind of, they may be with a good teacher, but now they're ready to get out there. So they've got to now do something for themselves
right,
because maybe they're going in for an audition to get a job, to become an accompanist,
right,
to whatever.
right,
How do they arrive at this point before going to that audition? I'm going to give you a scenario. You
okay,
get a brand new piece of music,
mhm,
maybe something new. It's new. Let's say it's new. It's not been done. It's not any of the classics. Okay,
okay.
something new. What is your approach when you get that piece of music?
I would play the piece through, and
Mm-hmm.
first my first reaction to the music, right? I will remember, I will just think about, how does this make me feel? My first reaction to the music,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll base everything around that.
Yes.
That's that's how that's how I would do it. So if something makes me feel anxious,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll say, okay, well, maybe this is what this music is about, and I'll explore it from that point. If it makes me feel calm or relaxed, then I'll explore that. But
I think that's the joy when you get in on the ground level of something new. And I've certainly been in that situation as an actor, singer, dancer, where I was allowed to just bring Vivian to it. What would Vivian do? Do you like this Vivian? Okay, what do you think would work better? That's a different kind of thing. But let's just say, go into something that you're more familiar with, that's you're going into you're going to play music, classical music, whatever it is, and you've played it maybe once or twice, but the conductor or whomever says to you, okay, Byron, give me something slightly different, give me some different dynamics on this. Could you do it?
yeah, I hope so.
Yes.
I hope that would be a part of every process
Yes.
when making music with someone else. Like, one of the greatest things to do is make music with other people.
Yes.
Being a soloist has its great moments,
Mm-hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
drawbacks too, but
What's
making
the drawbacks? Wait a minute, stop there. What's the drawbacks?
um
Or give me a drawback.
well, a drawback of being a soloist is that it sometimes you feel, the saying, you're only as good as your last concert.
Yes.
that, especially for soloists, I think is really, really something that we can struggle with.
So you got to keep reinventing yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, you have to keep reinventing yourself, and playing the same program week after week or night after night can be something that will actually turn you away from the soloist career, because it's lonely. It could get quite lonely. And
well, go ahead.
You're always, I don't want to say competing, but you're always struggling with yourself, and you're always trying to make yourself better than you were the day before. But you can't necessarily do that, because you're not really dealing with two separate people. You're dealing with the same person that's in the now today, but it's the same person in the now 2 hours later. Same person. It's the same person, and you're going in every week, or if you're playing the same program all the time, and that's the downside.
But I mean, that too can change as you may construct one classical program, and then maybe after you've done it for however long, then go about creating another. But I think the good thing about you, Byron, is that you go into a lot of different little areas here. I mean, because you're an accompanist, and you also are a chamber musician, playing with other people, playing chamber music, and that's got to be wonderful.
It is. It's just joyous to me. I love how my musical life is set up, and I really do. I do see pianist programs, and I see how they play one or two recitals or concertos throughout the season, and there could be 6 months of just this same recital program, right? And I don't know if I would be happy doing that. But yeah, I love the idea of.
You mean all the time?
All the time. You know, or maybe as I get older, that will be something I can explore, playing the same recital program all season. I've never done something like that before, because of that fear of, oh my God, what if I just lose interest in a piece?
Well, let me throw this at you. Being that I come from theater, I mean, in Equity Theater, we have to do 8 shows a week.
That's phenomenal.
And if that show is a hit, you do that show maybe for several years.
Yes.
There came a time where I was so sick of God Bless the Child, and I was sick of Sweet Georgia Brown. Not sick of the show, but sick of those numbers, because those were my 2 big numbers. And those were the numbers that a lot of people came to the theater to see. But because I love to perform, and I love the stage, and because I just kind of go there, I never got bored. But I will tell you this. There was a time and it was in God Bless the Child. Lord Byron, ooh, Lord, baby, I was sitting on that stage on Broadway, and when I got to the bridge, no, wait a minute, it was the second part of the first verse. Yes, the strong gets more, while the weak, no, just the strong. The strong gets more while the weak ones fade. All of a sudden, Byron, I was sitting on that platform. What was I thinking about? Peas and rice? What? Peas and rice? Girl, you supposed to be in this show thinking about the lyrics of this song. And that is, when I tell you, that is so not me, because I am there 1,000%. So I said, yes, the strong gets more, while the weak gets strong, or something like that. I said, it was not the lyric. Okay. I said, oh my God. Oh, no, I said, oh, no, it wasn't. I said, because yes, the strong gets more is correct. Yes, the strong gets weak. And then I said, why the weak get strong? And then that's how I got out of it.
Right. But see, Vivian, you're a professional, and that's how a professional.
And so are you. And so are you.
And that's what we do. That's what we do. You know, how many professions do you know that you're not allowed that?
Yes.
That room for mind wandering. How many professions do you know? There are a couple out there. I know, maybe airline pilot,
right,
heart surgeon, brain surgeon.
Yeah.
figure skating. I don't know.
But that had never happened to me. I don't know why that happened. I am in the moment, always in the moment. So
Right.
I'm not sure why that happened. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't think there's anybody, Byron, who could go through their career, their lifetime in this business, never having made a mistake or never having forgotten something,
Right.
forgotten lyrics. I mean, it happens all the time. Okay, let's talk about you've gotten this job. You're getting ready to accompany this great classical singer. All right. You haven't met her. You may know a little bit about her or him. So when you're approaching, when you meet this person, maybe for the first time, is there any protocol? What do you do? Do you talk to them, ask them, well, how do you like this particular aria sung, or what do you do?
What I like to start with is a conversation about the score.
Okay.
I like to receive original copies of the same score that the singer uses. I don't like to have to go fetch the music on my own, because you're almost starting in a deficit, because now you have to figure out, how do we both get on the same page? Because
But wait a minute, there are artists who actually make you. I would never do that.
I
I
know,
send the music.
yeah, this happens quite a
Really?
bit. Some pieces, some songs, some repertoire is so popular, and everyone's busy and we're fast and moving, doing this, doing that, and sometimes I get engaged to work with an artist, and I end up having to wonder, well, why am I expected to find this music? Or they'll say, do you have it?
No. Wait a minute. Time. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You are getting ready to accompany them. They just assume
They assume, do you have,
that
you have
you
it,
have it.
right? Or this is
And
what
aren't there several versions, or could be?
this is my point. Yes, and
Oh my
if
God.
and if you make the mistake, which I've done before, of trying to impress and then go get this music and put it all together, and then you're starting at a place from, okay, we're nowhere near on the same page. We don't even have the
Right.
same key,
Right.
right? You have a complete, just a different publisher can make
You
something,
can make a difference.
make it very, very different. So I like to be able to meet face to face with a singer and sit down and look at what he or she is looking at first,
Yes.
and put your music in front of me, basically, and let's talk through this stuff. And let's work together. Let's do it. Let's do it like that. And I've had the pleasure of working with many fantastic singers that would set a time with me and come weekly. Just it's not like a coaching or anything like that, but just being able to establish
Yes.
a rhythm in the rehearsal process, where you're coming the same time once a week,
Yes.
or however long it takes to get
it together.
it together. I think that's the best way to work, and it gives both parties something to look forward to.
And also, too, you're more comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you've worked together, you have a sense of you have a sense of how the singer, her phrasing, his phrasing,
Right.
she or he has a sense of how you do what you do. And I think when you work in that manner, you find things that become quite cohesive between the two of you, that makes for a better concert, I would think.
This is true.
I mean, I was doing Losing My Mind, and I sent this gentleman who booked me for this Stephen Sondheim night, and he told me I could sing whatever Stephen Sondheim song I wanted, so I chose Losing My Mind. And so I sat down, and I always rearrange everything. I looked at the lyrics. I always look at the lyrics first to see, okay, what are the lyrics telling me? So I said, okay, this is not a big Vivian Reed ending, like big belt at the end. I wasn't feeling that in this song because the lyrics didn't speak to me that way. So I went about rearranging it and with a modulation, and then I called up my conductor because he charts everything for me. And I said, okay, this is how I want this to go, and blah, 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 blah. So he noted everything down, and then he made up the arrangement. So then I scanned the arrangement, sent it off to this gentleman who booked me, and he sent it to the accompanist for that evening. And this particular accompanist was going to be playing for everyone. Well, I got to the club, and this gentleman comes in, and so Philip says, oh, Vivian, I'd like for you to meet the accompanist for the evening. He turns around and he introduces the two of us, and then the next thing out of this gentleman's mouth was, so what are you singing?
Wow.
Now, Philip sent him the music.
Yeah.
But he's asking, so what are you singing?
Wow.
I said, I'm singing Losing My Mind. He said, oh, no problem. I know that song. I said, no, you don't. I said, what you know is the title of the song, but that's all you know. So then Philip said, Vivian does her own arrangements. He said, so did you bring the music? He didn't even bring the music that Philip sent him.
Wow.
But thank God, I always cover myself. I always take copies of everything. So I had a copy for him.
You see
so
that?
when we actually started the rehearsal, he starts playing it like he's accustomed to playing it. Because most people understand, I'm very different from a lot of performers, because Bobby Schiffman, who managed me, and he was the then owner of the Apollo Theater, he told me, I don't know what kind of record career you're going to have. He said, but if you end up doing covers, whatever you cover, find yourself in that song.
Right.
Put your stamp on it. You keep the integrity of the piece, but you put your stamp on it. So I turned around and I said, don't do that. Look at my chart and follow that. You're not playing this the way you're accustomed to playing it. You're playing it that way. And that night at the show, and we had two that night, he played it perfectly.
Okay.
But it's a thing where I think, Byron, where you get too comfortable in your own skin. Because, I mean, you could have played any of these arias, any of these art songs for a gazillion classical singer or singers, and then all of a sudden you get this other singer and you're going to start playing it like you played it for somebody else. I mean, yes, the accompaniment basically remains the same, but maybe they want different dynamics.
Right.
So I think doing it in the manner that you said, to get together with
Right.
that person, because that shows when they want to have rehearsals like this for 2, 3, 4 times, however long it takes, that means they care about how they come across on stage.
You're right. And oh my gosh, we must have a million stories like this.
Honey, I want a story. Give me some stories. I like stories, but listen, don't call no names because we don't want to make nobody feel bad.
No, and a lot of the names I don't remember particularly anyway. But
Okay,
I can
give
tell
me
you
some stories, honey. Give me some juice.
In general, I can tell you something that happens quite often with singers. They'll come into an audition, very important auditions, mind you. And if I happen to be the pianist at this audition, they'll give me the music. And of course, the first thing you establish is tempo, right?
Of course.
So I'll say, okay, what's your tempo? Or they'll say, all right, let me give you my tempo. And they'll start singing through. And I'm listening to them like, okay, you're nervous.
Why? What? Because their singing isn't matching.
It's not matching any kind of concept, anything that I've heard before. Then I have to say, take a breath, relax. Now, what's your real tempo? And Vivian, I'm telling you, it's like night and day. And I think just that alone can save someone's audition, giving your accompanist the correct tempo.
Oh my God!
You know?
I tell my students, I said, these are not dummies, so don't be all day. It is not gonna take you 16 bars
Right.
To give somebody a tempo, I said, stand a bit in front of them so they can see your hand. Sing along with them so they can see it. Know your tempo. And I also tell them, Byron, if there's a retard or whatever is different in your music, even if you've done a cut, that's got to be notated. How do they know?
Right.
And then you're going to get mad because you didn't explain it properly, and then you mess up because he did something that you didn't tell him about.
Right.
And then you're going to get mad with, that's actually that's great advice, because I tell students that all the time. Know your tempo, know your music. Because,
I mean, even the best of the best are nervous.
Yes.
And you have the fight or flight response when you're standing in front of all these strangers and your pianist is behind you that you never rehearsed. The first thing you want to do is get the heck up out of there. So you're going to give a tempo that's too fast. Almost 99% of the time, your tempo is too fast. Take a breath, slow it, relax, and then give the tempo. Because you know, I know the song. This is my tempo. And then that alone makes that right there can save an art. That can turn an obviously nervous performer into a confident performer who sang a really, really, really good audition.
But I would venture to say too, even with that, I think a lot of times if you really have worked on your material, and I zone, that's what I do. I go there inside of the piece. I become one with that piece. Of course, I'm aware that people are looking at me, but it's not foremost on my mind, because I'm too busy painting colors, dynamics, the lyrics, they're living coming out of my mouth. And I become one. And when I tell my students, I said, see if you can find that. And once you find it, you will so enjoy performing, and auditions, you will be less nervous, because I tell them, once you have explained your music to the accompanist, he understands the tempo, he understands where the retards are, he understands all of that. As you are leaving him, you are in the moment.
Right.
You are now, even before he starts to play, you are in that piece of music.
Yeah, you can no longer, I agree with that 100%. You can no longer be worried about whether the accompanist is with you or not. You can't be worried about stuff like that. You
have to be able to give yourself over to that.
And you have to be in that creative process, not afraid of the creative process. Sometimes I ask singers, are you enjoying what you're doing right now?
Are you enjoying? Hell no, I'm not enjoying it.
And it's not because you sound bad. You actually sound quite good, but
are you enjoying it?
But are you enjoying? Because when you're going to audition this in front of complete strangers, or you're going to get on stage, I think that's what carries most artists through their performance. Is, do you reach a point in the performance where you actually enjoy what you're doing? Do you like the sounds you're making?
Oh, stop there. Lord have mercy. How many times have I asked people, do you love your voice? Do you love when the sounds come out of your mouth? Do you love what you hear?
Right.
Me personally, I love my voice. I love hearing it as I manipulate the tones.
Well, I love it too.
Massage those. What'd you say?
I love it too.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. Thank you. But I know what you're saying, because, well, number one, come on, Byron, listen, no matter what part of this business you come in, whether it's classical, whether it's theater, whether it's dance, whether it's acting, you better damn well love it and find joy in it.
Right.
Because other than that, it's going to destroy you.
Yeah.
Because it's a hard business. I mean, that enjoying what you do. You are so right on that point. Loving, when you hear yourself play, do you enjoy what you hear back in your ears?
Exactly. And it's a circular process, because no one's perfect, and sometimes you don't like what's coming out. But when you hear something you don't like, what's going on in your mind?
Yes.
Are you backing away in fear, or are you fixing it? So that the next phrase
Yes.
is better. Are you in the performance? I think that's what it means. That's what you mean by being in a piece.
In it.
Right.
Because we're not going to all be perfect. I don't know of anybody. I don't care how big your status is in this business, superstar, you're just starting. No one has ever gone to their entire career without fucking up. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm okay. I said this in one other video, but I'm gonna put it in this one. Byron, Lord, baby, we were in LA. And I was known to be the one, she never forgets anything. She just remembers all of her dialogue, all of her music. She just never forgets anything. You know them VIVIAN REED haters. So wait a minute. So Byron, God bless the child. I don't know what it is, but poor God bless the child. God bless the child has been through it. Okay, so coming out of the bridge, they don't come no more.
Oh no.
And a glob of saliva had somehow found its way, and I couldn't get out of it.
Wow.
When my voice finally, because I was like desperately trying to get control, but it was like just there. And I was like, and then finally it went down, and then I heard where because the music didn't stop. So I heard where the music was, and then I picked it up from there. And of course, baby, they were in the wings. Oh no, honey, that can't be Lady Reed or La Reed up there messing up. Oh, it must be some kind of new riff she's doing.
Wow.
I said evil. But yeah, I mean, things happen. But like you said a few minutes ago, you got to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't stop and be consumed by what just happened. You got to keep going. So let me ask you this. Has a singer ever been just nasty to you? Someone that you just met, or maybe you were maybe playing an audition for, and the way they talked to you wasn't nice?
No. And I'll say this. I'm a firm believer that offense has to have intent behind it. If you don't know me and you're nasty to me, it's almost like you don't even exist to me. That's how, because if you don't know me, I can't waste energy on what you said or what you did or how you behaved. Now, if there's an issue that we're having because we know each other and we're working together, fortunately, that doesn't happen very much. I can't remember a time when I just had a falling out, as they say, with a singer. No.
Yeah, but look at this. In an audition, if you encounter someone who's behaving like this, and listen up, you people listening to this, you young people, and even older people, an accompanist can cost you that gig.
Oh, I know.
Because the casting director, the director can come over and say, well, how was that person? They were very nasty with me. I don't know if this is somebody you would want to hire. It happens all the time. So be careful how you speak to that accompanist. Do not disrespect them.
Not at all. Those interpersonal skills are very important. I can tell you though, Vivian, that I've had a situation with a young man who was coaching with me, contacted me out of the blue, seemed like a nice guy, came over, and he did one of those things where he said, this is the piece I'm singing, and do you know it in this key? And then wanted me to play it in every key so he can find out what key. And I said,
we're talking about classical or something else? Are we talking about classical?
Classical.
No.
Right. And I said, well, that's not how it works. You're supposed to figure this out with your teacher, what key suits your voice. And he wanted maybe 6 or 7 different keys.
My God.
And I explained, just as I explained it to you, I explained it to him just like that. I said, this is not how that works. If you want to try 5 different keys, fine, but you should bring the music in 5 different keys, right? Don't expect your accompanist to just keep transposing. And he didn't understand that. And he looked at it, he looked at it, what am I paying you for? That kind of thing. And that he said that, and the rest of the rehearsal went downhill from there. And I never heard from him again. But
was it a rehearsal or a lesson?
It was a rehearsal.
Okay, for a show that he was doing?
For an audition.
Okay, and he just hired you to help him. Exactly. Or were you playing the show as well?
There was no way I was going to play this show.
Oh no! First of all, if you're singing, this is for you people watching this. If you're singing something, say in jazz, R&B, pop, and you're not playing the ink, meaning how the music is, the way it's actually written. And a lot of times they're not, there's chord symbols, and a lot of times you don't want them to play exactly what's written because it's going to be too stiff. That is totally unlike classical music. So my conductor, for instance, is classically trained, but he plays almost in every genre of music. So if I haven't already figured out my keys, or if it's something that I bring out at the last minute that's new, I said, okay, let's go over this. I may take him up and down a step or two, depending on how I want my voice to sound in that particular song.
Right.
But we're talking pop music, jazz, right. R&B. Right. That is not something you do in classical music, to be asking somebody to transpose like that because they're playing what's on the page.
Yeah.
My conductor, who can do it like this in pop and R&B and stuff, he would not be able to do that. He would expect me, if I'm singing a classical piece, to have it done, even if he has to do it. Okay, Billy, I need you to transpose this down from C to A flat. I need you to transpose it. And he is going to write it exactly as it was written in the original key. He's going to write it out, and he's going to charge me for doing that.
Exactly. Because
that is crazy, Byron.
It is. And what really turned me off about that situation was his inability to listen to what I was trying to tell him. He basically, what I was saying is, I'm not a cabaret pianist in this moment.
Oh, so you just basically said what I just said. Okay. Exactly.
If you want that, I can show you where to go. You can go down there and book a session with him, and he'll do that. He'll go all the keys you want. He'll give them to you. But this is not that, and you're not singing that kind of repertoire anyway. So I think that happened maybe 10 years ago, and
was he young?
No, that's the thing. He wasn't.
Wow.
He wasn't becoming crazy. He was older than I was at the time.
So he should have known better.
He should have known. And it took me by surprise because that's really never happened to me. I've had some wonderful experiences with musicians all over the world, New York City in particular, where I live. So I just, that was odd. That was strange. And hopefully I never have anything like that happen to me again.
Okay. That is something, because and you said he was a singer, right?
Yes.
Because I mean, when I think back to my classical days, there weren't that many different keys for an aria.
No.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, Vici d'arte, I mean, I sang it in the original key. I mean, if I had a choice, maybe it was for an art song. I don't know. What?
Well, now you can do this. This is good.
Really?
You can go online and just put in the key that you want, and any classical.
But would that be acceptable, going to an audition, a classical audition?
No, I think that it has become more acceptable.
Okay.
Over time. I wouldn't recommend it personally. I wouldn't do it. But there are some.
Because isn't that misleading? Say you're I don't know, a baritone, but you can go up into the tenor range, and so you come in with an aria or whatever
Yeah.
that's up in the tenor range, but they're really looking for a baritone. Couldn't that cost you a job?
I've seen it. Yeah, strange. Let's just say strange keys. I've seen basses lower the key just because that their voice lives.
So they
better
could show
down.
this, that they could really get down there, baby.
Seen that, right. I've seen it in classical, mainly though for musical theater and spirituals, newer music, 20th music written in the 20th century.
Right.
But I've also seen it for the classics also. Yeah.
Okay.
Done.
Wow. So no outlandish stories for me. Everything's been roses, coming up roses for you. Nothing crazy, right? we
You know, I do have to say that as my career has progressed over the years, a lot of the stories are non-music. A lot of the outlandish stories are non-musical related.
Well, give me some of them. Give me some of them.
They're rental car stories.
Oh no, we don't want no rental cars.
Yeah, frequent flyer mile stories.
Okay.
Getting the wrong venue, getting the email with your itinerary and showing up at the wrong venue and and wondering why you only have no one in the audience tonight. That kind of thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's bad. Okay, so before we close out, work ethics. What should one think about coming into this business? They want to have longevity. They want people to hire them again and again and again. What should they not do?
Don't burn bridges.
That's for sure.
Not burn those bridges at all. It's a small world out there. You never know who is talking to whom.
That's right.
And in terms of a work ethic, I would just say, if you know better, do better. Some people don't. Some musicians don't know, and they don't do. But if you know better, I think if you know better, you should always try and do better.
And to be on time.
Be on time. Oh, that's a very important one. I find that I've lived in many different cities around the world, and transportation is an issue in some places. New York is notorious for having issues with transport. Yes. And I just find that in my mentality in New York is completely different than if I'm in London. If I'm in London, no one's late, first of all.
Really?
They're not late.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that it has nothing to do with transportation? Just part of their DNA is we're never late.
They're never late because there's not much to blame it on, because the transport system there is so good compared to New York. Now, New York, on the other hand, my mentality, when I'm in New York, I always feel like if I am not in the area 15 minutes before, then I'm late.
That's right.
And that's the worst feeling to be.
It is terrible.
To be in the subway system here, or even in a taxi, and your audition or your concert, your call time is in 15 minutes, and you're not there yet. So my mentality here is very, 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 very different. So you have to be on time, and to be on time is to be early.
Well, that's what a lot of people have said in these conversations. I mean, I was taught if you can't be on time, be early, but don't ever be late.
Right.
So I'm usually, if rehearsal starts at 10, I'm usually there by 9:30, quarter of, because I want to warm up. And I usually warm up at home, too, before I even leave home. And then I warm up some more. And because rehearsal starts at 10, you cannot be just walking in the door. Because you walking in the door at 10, you're already late.
Right. And we should also, that applies to when you're trying to catch a flight. Don't be that musician that misses flights.
Yes.
Don't be that musician that can't get anywhere on time, let alone get to the airport.
Well, Byron, they wouldn't last with me. They would get fired. Second time, third time, you're out.
Yeah.
I don't care how good you are.
Yeah.
You're gone, because that's a sign. that this is going to be a problem with you. I have to worry. Do I have to worry about if you're going to show up time in order to play my show?
Right.
I mean, that is a problem. And even if you go into these concerts, if you go into the opera world and you know that you're supposed to be at the theater a certain time and you keep coming to that theater late, you're going to get fired. Because there's always people in back of you.
This is true.
Ready to take your place. And sometimes they may not be as good as you.
This is true.
But they're dependable. See, that's the thing, to be dependable. This is great. Any final words to these young, budding, classical musicians?
I would say, given the current situation, we all have had a lot of challenges with getting ourselves out there, but don't give up. Just do it. Just get yourself to a level where you are happy with your sound. You're excited with what you do. You love what you do, and just do it, and continue doing it.
And success is relative.
It is.
It's the goals that you set for yourself.
That's right.
You know, you don't necessarily have to become your name a household name. You know, success is whatever you set for yourself.
Right.
You know, I think if you're able to make a living in show business, and that may mean from time to time that you have to take a job, you know, to support yourself until you get, you know, you start getting those breaks where you're working practically all the time, where you can support yourself just from show business. There's no harm in getting a job on the side until you get to that point. But whatever it is, when that time, that big time comes, that big chance comes, you want to be ready.
Yeah.
So in that downtime, just be taking your lessons and practicing. You know, Byron, when I was in classical music, I used to practice 2 hours a day.
And that's a lot if you're consistent.
And that's a lot. Yeah,
right.
I used to practice all the time. But thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you, Vivian, for having me.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Byron Burford Phearse. I love that name. That's a strong name. That's a strong name. But thank you to all of you who watch this video, and keep checking back. There's always new videos, and it's always about show business and every part of it. Until the next time, bye-bye. Say goodbye, Byron.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like. Bye.